Hey everyone, hope your week is going well so far. And as I'm shooting this video, it's April 2020. And I think we're all gonna remember April of 2020. And we're gonna remember a lot of things about April of 2020. Some are gonna be good and some are gonna be bad and some are gonna be very frustrating. And so when I'm talking today about memory, I just wanted to open up and have you think about that. There are things that stick in our mind and they stick in our mind forever. And if you think about learning and some of the behaviors we get with kids who have a difficult time with memory, I want you to think about this concept. Research tells us that we are, believe it or not, emotionally attached to things that happen to us. And some things will stick with us because we have an emotional feeling about them. And so other things, if we don't have an emotional feeling about them, they just don't stick. So when we think about learning, one of the only measurements we have of learning is through memory. It's either you recite it to me, you take a test, you do a project, whatever that might be that we assign in the classroom. And what you remember of what we taught is how we grade you. So what if we thought about it this way? And I'm going to give you a kind of a different example. It may seem weird, but just roll with me for a second. If you come home every day, we know that people do a lot of things just via habit. And it's just we establish ourselves. It's actually self-regulation. I come home, I have a place for my keys. So I hang my keys up, and I know that the next morning when I get up to go to work, my keys are going to be there. And if they're not there, I'm like, wow, where's my keys? But if I came home and just said, you know what, I'm not going to put my keys on that hook today. I think I'm going to put my keys in the refrigerator. That sounds bizarre, but I would say to myself, okay, I'm putting these in the refrigerator right next to the pickles because I love pickles and I just love even looking at a jar of pickles. I just love them. And I want my keys to be cold tomorrow morning because it's really going to be hot out. So now I've kind of attached myself to where I put those keys. It sounds a little bizarre, but it works. The next morning I get up, I go to my habit place, which is the hook. My keys aren't there. I instantly think of, oh my gosh, that's right, I wanted them cold, and of course they're next to my favorite thing, which is the pickles. I open the refrigerator, grab my keys, and I'm good to go. So the theory behind that is that we don't forget as much as we think we forget. We just never really learned it. Which brings me to this point. Your kids right now are going to remember something very significant about this time in their life in school. They're going to remember those teachers that are driving through the neighborhood honking their horns and waving and saying hi because they can't come in close contact with them. They're going to remember your Zoom meetings. They're going to remember your FaceTimes, whatever you're using. They're going to remember that you came into their home. You virtually called them. Your face was on their computer at home. And you cared enough to teach that content in a way that you came to them and made it more memorable. So that is something we should really be thinking about. Will kids remember some of this content simply because of the kind of emotional attachment and the excitement that we put behind it because of the way we delivered it? So if I'm back in the classroom and I want to teach kids multiplication, those of us who went, just an example multiplication, let's say, years ago when we went to school, we had to go home and write our multiplication tables 25, 30 times every night. And by some miracle, we learned them because they were drilled into our head by rote practice. That's one way to do it. But what if I was struggling with the sixes and my teacher came to me and said, man, those sixes are really difficult for everybody. Here's what we're going to do. I want you to think of your favorite thing in the whole world. Your favorite thing. What is it? What is it that you would want to have 6 of? Is it cars? Is it cats? Is it pickles? Is it video games? What is it? It can be anything. You know, what is it that you want to have 6 of right now? And all of a sudden the kids go, okay, I want you to just write down what that is. Now, what if you doubled it? What if you tripled it? What if you, oh my gosh, can you imagine what multiplication can be for you? And all of a sudden, I attached something very personal to that lesson about getting the multiplication and using your sixes. And now kids are remembering. I remember that day that my teacher said, what if 6 jars of pickles turned into 12 jars of pickles, and then it turned into 18 jars of pickles, and then 24 jars of pickles? That's what they're going to remember. I'm going to leave you today with a very personal story around this. When I was in college a gazillion years ago, I was sick with pneumonia and I missed quite a bit of school. And I kept up with everything I could keep up with. And I studied and I did my homework and everything I needed to do to learn what I had to learn, but I couldn't make it to finals. My professor called me on the phone and she said to me, "Are you ready for this final despite what's going on?" And I said, "Yes, I'm ready. I know I can, but I cannot physically make it to campus." And she said, "Okay." She said, "How do you feel today?" And I said, "I feel a little better. I'm up on the couch." And she said, "Well, put your slippers on." She said, "I'm going to be over there about 2:30. And lo and behold, my professor knocked on our door, and I was married and had young children. She knocked on the door, and my husband opened the door. And she said to my husband, she said, "Ron, make me a cup of tea. We're going to take a final." And I took that college final sitting on my sofa in my robe and my slippers, recovering from pneumonia. Because my professor came in and had that much passion in what she wanted me to learn and that connection. I aced that class. I can tell you everything about that class. Other classes, not as much. That might be an extreme example, and I think it is because we can't do that with every single child. But I want you to think about what your kids are going to remember about the curriculum you're teaching right now, just because of what's going on in our world. And when you bring that back to your classroom, bring back that same passion. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. I speak and consult on school behavior, and I love to help districts solve some of these problems. See you next time.